Alright, y'all, welcome to another paid review. This time we are reviewing a manga called A Deathmatch for Employees, or Employees Deathmatch. Now, this was created by an American indie manga artist, and you can find the whole volume on Amazon. He's selling it on Amazon, so link is in the description box. I gotta say, I was really surprised at the quality. Now, the last time I did a review for this client, I could tell that, yeah, he's a very good artist, but it was that silent manga that really didn't make any sense. Now, this story makes sense and it's pretty darn funny. In a way, it's a story that doesn't take itself serious. And so I won't take it so serious. I will take it for what it is, almost like it's a gag type story. And it is pretty funny and it is a little bit relatable. As you know, here on Coffee Comics, we judge things by the MANAA ingredients. Now, if you have all 4 ingredients, you have a 10 out of 10. If you have 3, it's very good nonetheless. You have 2, well, good enough. You have 1, you have potential. Now, for this particular story, it really doesn't have much aside from 1, which is relatability, but many people won't actually relate to this. Many people can just find it funny. And for once, I will say it's okay that it doesn't have these ingredients because the author knows what he's trying to do, right? That's one problem that a lot of authors have always been guilty of, is that it has never seemed like they knew what they were doing, who they were targeting, who was their target market, and so on. But the author over here understands his target market. He's creating a gag type manga, right? A seinen type humorous manga. And in this case, it doesn't need to be hopeful because it's a gag, it's comedy, right? Familiarity, I'm sure if you're a comedy consumer, Japanese style manga comedy consumer, you would see the familiarity here and there, but I'm not a consumer of comedy like that. But I can say that I've seen glimpses of seinen comedy before, but I never read it. But I can just tell that, yeah, this looks like seinen comedy. Is it inspiring? Well, I don't know the end of the story, so I'm not sure. But in a way, it depends where you are in life, honestly. That will actually determine if it will be inspiring for you or not. But it is relatable here and there if you are somebody who's worked in corporate. Now, Japanese corporate is hardcore, we know this, but if you just worked in decent corporate and understood the working environment, how toxic it can be, you can relate to some extent. So anyway, so let's get into it. What the story is basically about, well, let's just read it. So page 1, the challenges we encounter in our professional lives can push us to our limits, the breaking point that forces us to confront the reality of our own insignificance. In an effort to address the alarming rise in employee suicides, a new type of corporate competition emerged. A death match for employees was born. The coloring is amazing. I would say right now the art is awesome. I will say that in terms of the coolness of the characters, like having cool character designs, there aren't any, but I think that was done on purpose because it's comedy, and having goofy Mr. Bean type looking characters is the point. You don't really want to draw a super cool looking character that's going through something like this that he might not even overcome, but instead maybe remain a victim, because ultimately the main character is planning on committing suicide himself when his daughter turns 18. That to me was funny. And you can ask, why is that funny? Well, I can't really explain it, or I should say, I don't want to explain it. I just understand. So that was really funny. So good on the author for actually making the character design choices to be a bit wacky, goofy, and weird. It harmonizes with the absurdity of the story. And remember, I've always said that you have to be able to create characters that actually look like they belong in the world, in which they harmonize with the plot, with the narrative, and so on. So he executed it very well here. So we're now in the office and we see this woman making some coffee. That's some great coffee over there. And we see she be putting in what looks to be sugar. But now that I'm reading it again, I can tell that nah, this ain't no sugar, probably poison. And she grabs a knife and hides it on her back. And so everybody, the main character, works at this insurance company. And this woman, well, everyone you see here is in this insurance company. And there's a bunch of weasels and hunchbacks and freaks and zombies who work in this company who want to sell a policy to you no matter the lie, no matter the cost. So we hear somebody saying, we have the perfect deal for someone in your age range. How about getting you started with zero money down? You won't even notice the increase on your billing cycle, blah, blah, blah. Then she walks past this fat guy and he says, I'm also a health nut like yourself. Even for someone who is extremely health conscious, I wouldn't pass up on your extended life plan. I plan on living 100 years myself, simply by utilizing proper diet and exercise. Obviously, dude is lying. He's just trying to sell you some product. Everybody in this company is basically a grifter. They're going to tell you what you want to hear so you can spend that dollar. I liked this because in a way this shows, if you didn't know how insurance companies works, yeah, in a way it shows you how it works, but how a lot of people just are, man. I don't want to say just to get by, they're going to lie. No, just to get what they want, they're going to lie. And tell you what you want to hear. Then we have this freak of nature. I'll show all of these fools the power of classic tech. This device has an amazing performance, even when compared to modern tech. Now, this situation here where this woman is walking past, we're being introduced to the types of personalities in the company. And it's interesting, it's very well done. They all lying. Like the first guy we saw, and the fat guy, and this nutcase over here who wants to be fawned over by the higher ups if he's using old school tech to get the job done. As you can see, he says, if I can demonstrate an increase in performance with this relic, I'm sure I'll be praised by the higher ups. And this is that hunchback mentality of, I'm gonna get compliments. I wanna get complimented. So it's very cool how we see these multiple personalities. And finally, she reaches the main character. And the main character is on the call saying, thank you for your continued loyalty. Have a nice day. And she offers him some coffee. She says, I know it's not always easy working with new employees like me, so I thought I'd thank you with a warm cup of coffee to show my appreciation. And you can tell by that smile that she out to something. Then he says, maybe now you no longer need someone to guide your every step. Did I say something wrong? I just figured coffee would be a nice gesture. I'm sorry, but if I wanted coffee, I would have gotten it myself. See, the first time, I didn't think that she put poison in the coffee. So I guess if I drank it, I'd be dead. But she gets ticked off and pulls out the knife and says, what did you just say? Do you think it's funny to embarrass me in front of everyone like this? I've spent 10 minutes brewing this special blend. Do you enjoy leaving a woman with a cold heart the same way you have your coffee? I've got something for you stronger than coffee. I don't know, man. It was pretty funny to me, really. It's funny and absurd. Like, really? Your first time reading it, you're like, wait, what? You want to kill this guy because he didn't want to drink your coffee? What the heck is going on? But the title is, employee deathmatch. So you think right now that, okay, I suppose the match has started. I suppose people have free reign to just kill each other whenever they want in the office. But then later on you find out, no, that's not how it works. It actually has to be organized killings. So he spills the coffee on her face, and she yells and says it's burning, and then tries to stab him, and he dislocates the arm and throws her in the air, busting her arm up even more. And she says, you think you're tough, proving your manhood by beating me down. A coward like you can't handle a real woman. Now, this sort of gaslighting is so relatable and familiar in the real world. You know how these crazy hussies can come at you, right? And you're not allowed to defend yourself. If you do, they want to say some smack like this. And then some retarded simp like this freak is going to get up and say, hey, what's your problem? He just assaulted that woman. Somehow y'all didn't see she tried to stab the guy. This is the world. This is reality right here. This is an extrapolation from reality. Despite the absurdities of the scenario in the story, it does make sense. It's funny also because it's extrapolated from reality, at least some of it, Like this simp here losing his mind all of a sudden. It's funny because we've seen it in the real world. Then the fat guy says, yeah, I saw it too. Someone called the police. She's going to need an ambulance. 3 people saw this, but forgot she tried to stab him, right? Then the freak says this is a professional environment, not some back alley Soviet bar. This guy has no respect for women in the workplace. He's a total loose cannon. That accusation sounds awfully familiar to the hunchbacks calling me a bunch of names. He has no respect for trans people in the art community. He's a total loose cannon. Yet it was trans people who threw the first stone. So get out of here, But that's why I said I relate to it to some extent. Let's tie that maniac up until the police get here. I always had a feeling something was wrong with that guy. See, when the groupthink comes together, they start just saying garbage that they never even thought about, but because it's convenient in the situation at hand, they'll be able to say such garbage, just to partake in mob justice, I suppose. So they all grab a weapon each, and they come after him, and they try their luck. But Mr. Matsuda here slaps that dog monkey out of them, or out of the loser, the simp, falls to the ground, and everybody else is like, hey, what's going on? Is some sort of terrorist attack? Should we hide under the desk like we learned in training? That is funny. That is really funny. The question, is it some sort of terrorist attack? It is absurd, but I know you work in corporate, or you work amongst corporate style organizations. Let's say like you're a teacher at school. Honestly, they are a bunch of idiots like this. When I worked at this one high school, man, I've never met adults that stupid, and they were teachers. I actually didn't understand that. Is this person real, or are they some sort of muppet? How can you ask dumb questions like that? But you're an adult, like you're 40 years old, you're teaching kids stuff from the stupid textbook, but it was as if outside of textbooks, these people were just Muppets. You know, it was very frightening. Um, so this leader says, whoops, don't worry, I'll take care of this with my overwhelming competence and leadership skills. That is funny, man. We've got him cornered. There's no way he can take us both. Let's crush him. His old bones can withstand the pressure without crumbling. So they try their luck, but Mr. Matsuda still snaps them up, even kills the guy over here. Now, at this moment, I thought the death match had begun. The people are weirded out, like, hey, he just killed someone. I gotta get out of here. Then they say, what about the police? And they hoping the fat guy is gonna stop Mr. Matsuda. But he throws the box cutter and cuts the cable that he was holding on to. And the printer falls on his skull, busting him open. And everybody's like, oh snap, we're all going to die. I'm not going to sit around and be killed by someone's grandpa. Then this woman runs the hell out and jumps out the window. And this guy's saying that's over a 40-story drop. Like, it's crazy. It's insane, right? It's insane. So, hey, I don't really read comedy. And I can say I don't really like comedy. But if it's funny, man. You know? Really funny. I might have gone a little overboard. If I don't pick up these papers, I'm really going to get myself fired this time. And that also was funny that, bro, that's all you care about? You just slaughtered like 3 people. And then the leader comes behind him, says, don't worry about collecting the papers. I have something for you to sign, end of the line. And then he's fired by being cut to pieces. Now, when this happened, I was like, wait, what? Then we realized that, oh, it was a dream. Now, at first I was like, man, did we spend 28 pages in a dream scenario? In a way, I felt like the positioning of certain things could have been rearranged. Like, after like coming out of this dream sequence, it felt like there was no need for it, honestly. Would I say it was wasted? Not really, because he was dreaming about what he wished could happen in a way, right? It's his internal frustrations of working in such a messed up job. So I understand, but I don't think it needed 28 pages for that. But oh well. So he wakes up and his friend behind him says, I thought I was going to need a stick of dynamite to wake you up. And they have some banter here and there. And then we receive a flashback of who is Mr. Matsuda. 30 years earlier, a life insurance specialist representing the world's largest life insurance company, the Takeda Group. Like most Japanese employees, my life was devoted to the loyalty and success of my company. Matsuda, you're so cool. Matsuda, you're so great. Matsuda, your handshake, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, everybody was basically sucking him up. I will say that the author feels like he spent a lot of time in Japan, because his understanding of even this type of humor is really well executed. It feels like a true Japanese manga. You actually wouldn't know that an American did this. You would know, right? And that's a good thing. That's great. That's really great. I will say that you're gonna have to do more marketing, sir. But hey, Coffee Comics is helping with that. At the age of 23, I had already risen up to become the top salesman in the firm. Life was good until that day I realized the company I devoted myself to was more interested in profits than its customers. On the surface, you would think life insurance would be a simple, straightforward transactional process. The customer pays, against unforeseen circumstances. In the event of an unexpected incident, the policyholder would receive a payout of a predetermined dollar amount. A simple, straightforward transactional process. And then we're introduced to this couple here. The guy saying everything will be okay. I'm sure the nice people in this office will help us. So the guy says, hey, I'd like to speak to somebody regarding this policy about my girl's father. And the MPC secretary says all appointments regarding customer accounts must be conducted digitally. The dude goes back and forth and she says the exact same thing. And then he loses it and says, maybe you could update your software. We pay good money for this. We're not walking out of here. And then, of course, she calls security. And here they come. And then Mr. Matsuda sees them and says, maybe I can look at that contract. He checks it out and says that, well, technically, your dad should still be covered, and so on. And unfortunately, though, the security arrived and beat the living ish out of the dude and his girlfriend. And it's kind of insane. Like, whoa, you're gonna beat the girl too? I mean, she was already down and crying. Like, oh snap. Okay, so then they get dragged the heck out, but they got beaten to a pulp. And then he yells, "You're nothing but a bunch of demons dressed in suits." By the way, having no demons in this was really refreshing, because aside from the Japanese themselves putting demons everywhere, a lot of Western dudes have been putting demons in their story also. So no demons here, no superpowers. It was refreshing. So Mr. Matsuda goes over the contract and makes the call, and the dude yells and he says, hey, don't worry, you'll be covered. You'll get that 16 million. And he's happy. Then he says, following the incident, I was met with continuous sabotage and hostility at work with the intent of forcing me to quit. Over time, my reputation in the insurance industry was completely ruined, all because I refused to lie. This is what made me relate to it the most. Because if we're all, let's say we're all working in this life insurance company, but it's the indie space. Everybody out here trying to get compliments and likes by doing the bare minimum or drawing what's trending and so on, and selling it to the world as the next best thing. And then I come along and be like, nah, nigga, I ain't gonna lie. This some bull crap. And then everybody tries to sabotage you. All because I refuse to lie about the standards in this swamp. No, it's not a swamp. It's a great place. No, it's a swamp. So it was really cool. Then he says, I came to the realization that the organization I worked for was luring people into purchasing life insurance they were unlikely to ever benefit from. Though Takeda soared to become one of the most profitable companies in the world, it did so at the expense of vulnerable people. The reality of this being my life plunged me into depression. Ouch. You've gone from being the best to the worst employee. My coworkers distanced themselves from me, driven by fear of losing face and the threat of retaliation. It's like some of these people who only want to come under the cover of night to shake my hand that, hey bro, I support you, bro. But you're not going to do it in the daylight because you don't want to lose face with the hunchbacks. How interesting. Then he says, my home life began to unravel and fell into pieces. It got to the point where I decided after my daughter's 18th birthday that I would commit suicide. That's really funny for some reason, man. Oh, I think it's because it's honestly something a Japanese person would say and think. It's crazy. As time went on, Many of the older generational workers grew disillusioned by the erosion of honor and integrity in the workplace. Man, this is real, man. This is that extrapolation from reality. The older generation in the indie space, those who still have integrity and honor, many have become disillusioned, all right? You know, many have thrown in the towel, or some ended up selling out and becoming like Ethan Von Sciver, just making fun of Eric July every single day instead of working on his comic. So, yeah, I totally feel it. I totally relate. Then we see this old man. As a result, we lost respect for the company, doing only the bare minimum to just keep our jobs. So, quiet quitting in a way. This reality, combined with blatant corruption, drove our company to have the highest suicide rate nationwide. And we see the old man cutting himself with scissors. In an attempt to cover up the soaring suicide rate, Takeda Group and the government officials devised a scheme. It was decided that the group would host the very first employee deathmatch across Japan. It was a ploy to salvage the group's reputation and reduce the perceived suicide rate for the sake of the government's public image. Absolutely insane. So now, instead of employees killing each other, killing themselves because they've had enough, they have the chance to kill one another in a proper death match. And whoever survives will get paid a bonus salary. It's just insane. It's a means to keep you alive, to keep working in that damn factory, basically. It's crazy, right? You feel like dying? Well, don't kill yourself. Instead, kill someone else, or let someone else kill you in the ring. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But that's what makes it so funny and absurd. Through competition, they aim to boost morale among Japanese employees nationwide. The Takeda also began recruiting the most delinquent individuals from our society to sustain a disposable cyclical workforce, a group of young, overly aggressive kiss asses with no scruples. This is what I'm talking about. This is pure gold. This is comedy done right, man. Comedy that can commentate on the reality of the world. These aggressive kiss asses, we know who they are. We've seen them in the indie space. We know that they're the hunchbacks who want to kiss the ass of white manga, DD Mark, and all these other freaks and losers and degenerates, right? We know who they are. We know that they are aggressive in smooching the booty of those they believe can give them a heads up or a chance at something. It's crazy. But going back to that part of a sustainable, disposable workforce, that's what I'm talking about. What I've been talking about. That not only has BlackRock determined that everything, all entertainment now will just be disposable content. It will be content that cannot be cherished, cannot be valued, but disposed of. Like a lollipop, you suck it and then you throw it away when there's no more sugar, and then you buy another one and so on. They're turning people into disposable lollipops also. And many people are volunteering to be those disposable lollipops, like Didi Mark, sees no problems with being a workaholic zombie. And it's not even about the quality of the art anymore, because that doesn't matter if it's not saying anything, It's like a well-decorated cupcake with all kinds of empty calories, right? Made from artificial eggs and milk and whatnot, just pure poison to the body. But oh well, I'm gonna impress the higher ups, right? It's so insane. You wanna impress your slave masters who are benefiting from your talent. it's just retarded at best. Then he says the younger the employees we recruited, the greater the profit we made. Many of them complete zombies from prescription drugs. This is just fantastic. Great commentary on the reality of the world right now. Meanwhile, the older employees who have been with the company from the beginning are seen as a burden. And we see the grandpa asking for help, and the young person says no. The environment is now a battleground split between young and old. You know, the sad thing is, I can have dudes my age who are kiss asses and freaks, but you know, it's not really about age. It's about mindset. It's about the ideologies that are kept in people's heads. But oh well, it's a very nice way to commentate on the state of the world. And we see Mr. Matsuda's friend saying, hey, you got an invite to a death match. You're gonna attend, right? And he says no. And he says he got an invitation to go and he wants to go. Looks like he wants to do a tag team death match with Matsuda. And Matsuda doesn't want to do it, saying, so you think it's reasonable to risk your life for just a few months' salary? Who's going to look after my daughter if something happens to me? No man's swordsmanship can rival that of the legendary Matsuda. Okay, this is a little gag. And then he says, well, you have life insurance, don't you? And Matsuda doesn't. And then he lets him know that, hey, how's about you draft up your own life insurance policy? And he says, well, that's a good idea. It looks like mediocre salesman Matsuda is coming out of retirement. May I have the honor of setting up the legendary Matsuda's first insurance policy? This one is all mine. With these hands, I will craft the finest insurance policy the world has ever seen. Oh, and one more thing. You might want to put a little effort in scrubbing in the shower. And he said that because he was drawing things on his neck to wake him up. And that is the end of chapter 1. So y'all can check out the manga, link in the description box. It's on Amazon. Real high quality stuff over here. Actually pretty funny. I will definitely watch an anime of this. Really funny. I could just imagine the type of voice actors already, because yeah, this is absurd, but in a good way. So well done to the author. The art is great. The character designs suit the world building very well. The story is funny. The concept is neat and new. So honestly, even though it gets a 1 out of 4 from the MANAA ingredients, I'd still give it a 10 out of 10 for a gag manga, for a gag seinen style gag manga. This is a 10 out of 10. Straight up 10 out of 10. The author just understood the homework, and executed it nicely. So that's how it is. If anyone wants a review, it is $40 per chapter. A chapter consists of 15 to 25 pages. And if you want that, you can just send me a message on Instagram. Until next time.